video. I'm Olivia. So in the beginning of the year, they asked us to start thinking about our topics, and the only word that I could really think of that really came to mind was the word liminal. I've been thinking about that word since about freshman year. I did a photography series online based off of just that word, and I was really interested in it. It was the coolest thing. I'll get into it in a second. Liminal really just means threshold, so that in between space, like walking through a door, the threshold of a door. If you're standing right in the middle of a door, you're no longer inside, but you're not outside yet. So it's this really strange place. So the images of this project was these very empty, dark places that were very eerie, and they were mostly at night. So these are gas stations and stairwells and parking garages, and the whole theme was how these places and these spaces, when you're sitting in them, reality feels very altered and very unreal. So during my junior year of high school, so last year, I was trying to transfer schools, and my parents were like, hey, guess what? We might also be moving to Baltimore in January. So it was this very odd moment in the very beginning, my first semester, where I wasn't really sure where I was going to end up in the next, couple months. So I started to call it my liminal space. I started doing research, and I found the actual definition of liminality. So I felt like I was stuck in an in-between, not really physically, but more mentally. Just daily things started feeling so monotonous and so boring. So my hobbies and drawing and a lot of the artistic stuff I just stopped doing, and spending time with my friend, I was separating myself from everything. So in late December, my dad turned down the offer, and we ended up staying in Atlanta, and I decided to not transfer schools. During those months of just that weird period, I had to figure things out again, and after I'd found out that I wasn't moving to Baltimore and I had decided not to transfer schools, I was like, well, I'm already kind of detached from all these things, so now I have to reattach. So that was kind of a weird period where I was just trying to, rebuild myself. And that's when I learned more about liminality. I started doing more research about it. And I came across a book called Forest of Symbols by Victor Turner. So the studies were on African rites of passage, specifically in tribes, going from boyhood to manhood, girlhood to womanhood. So it went through 3 different stages, so separation, liminality, and incorporation. So separation means deconstruction when you're a child and you're becoming an adult, and that's the separation. So they separate themselves from that identity. And then you enter the middle part, the liminal stage, and that's that little floating, ambiguous feeling where you have to just wait for the next point. And that's when separation comes in, or incorporation comes in, and that's when you are given a new title or a new identity. So boyhood, that middle part, and then manhood, so that's the new identity. So you're no longer yourself in that middle point, and no longer hold a title, and all the structures that you originally were held, so structures being titles or social structures or whatever, in that middle part is they're all gone, and then they're rebuilt in the last section. So in incorporation, where you re-enter the world, you're now as your new self. So the final rite with incorporation, that really brought me to my thesis argument. So why do things have to suck before they get good again? Or why do we have to go through certain very disorienting events or phases of our lives before things can make sense again? So I started looking back at past essays that I'd written and past books we read in class. So I looked at Dimmesdale from The Scarlet Letter, just right here, and then Hamlet from Hamlet. I noticed how their situations, how everything had to get very chaotic and very disorienting before they created a better sense of things. And then I looked back at Flannery, while I was writing my essay. Of course, I figured out that I want to incorporate Flannery O'Connor and how her cycles of violence and grace, and how that all can be part of a liminal structure where you have to, go through a very violent thing and that weird middle, and then grace, the redemptive quality of that. And so then I started asking, why is that the exact process, and why does that lead us to living better and living well? Anyways, so I hope some of that made sense. I'm still figuring out my essay as I'm writing it, unfortunately, but I think that's how all writing works. So hopefully I'm on the right track somewhere. Alright, thank you.